Hello, beautiful people.
Another March Madness bracket. This one for Metallica. This is a pre-released bracket, so I didn't create this. It was released back in 2020, back when the brackets were really popular by Metallica's own social media. So that's why the naming convention is gonna be a little weird. They only use like one, maybe two words from each song, and so as a fan of Metallica, you kind of just gotta know which song they're talking about. Some of these, as you'll see, can kind of be one song or another, but then as you go down, you'll realize that it's the other one because they used a different word from another title. For instance, like Day, that actually is the day that never comes, but it could also have been Hero of the Day, but then you go further down and Hero is there, so that's obviously Hero of the Day. So I'll try to say the full names of each song just for those of you who may not be, Metallica like know-it-alls. And yeah, we'll just go through and we'll talk about them, and I'll make my picks, and I hope you enjoy. So we're gonna start from the top left. This one's a pretty easy one, but it's gonna be Enter Sandman from the Black Album versus Confusion from one of the newest albums, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And not that I'm an old hat or anything. I'd like to think that I'm actually kind of new to the Metallica games. And Enter Sandman is just way better than their new stuff. Again, not to be that guy who's like, oh, the new stuff sucks, the old stuff's way better. But I mean, it's Enter Sandman versus one of the new songs. It's just not going to be the same. Confusion is definitely not bad off of Hardwired to Self-Destruct, but it's against Enter Sandman, so it just doesn't even really have a chance. So we'll move on. So next is Through the Never versus Motor Breath, and sadly I think this is another obvious one. Through the Never is just much better than Motor Breath. Again, I'm not going to have a lot of love for their newer stuff. Not that it's bad, it's just samey. But Through the Never is a really, really, really good song. So Through the Never moves on, and we'll move on. It's going to be Whiplash versus Leper Messiah. And this one's actually really close for me because Leper Messiah is like a similar song to Whiplash. Whiplash is a little bit more high tempo, but they're both pretty high tempo. So, I mean, these songs both go really hard. I like them a lot. I just tend to like the way Whiplash sounds a little better. So I do pick Whiplash in this one instance, but they're both really good songs, both really hype, high tempo, high energy. And Whiplash, I think, is just the more high energy, and so it gets me hyped. So yeah, I definitely like Whiplash better than Leper Messiah, but they're both really good. And that one might actually be controversial because I know a lot of people like pretty much everything off of the Master of Puppets album. But I do like Whiplash, even if it's older, even if the production's a little weaker. I like it. So next is Blackened versus The God That Failed, which is another old versus new. And I'm going with the old again. It does seem, now this one, I can't say that for this one, but it does seem like on this bracket that since it's Metallica released, obviously they kind of want their new stuff to have a chance at winning. They know it's a fan poll, so they know fans are going to vote for the stuff they know. So they'll try to put, it's kind of obvious, they'll try to put their better new songs against some of their not as popular old songs. And it still just doesn't do it. And even on the fan poll, it doesn't. I don't know the exact fan poll or anything like that. I didn't look through it too much, but I know that there's no way that like fans were picking their new stuff over the old. I won't guarantee that because maybe, but yeah, I can pretty much guess that a lot of their old stuff beat all of their new stuff. So for me, Blackened is just way better song. Blackened is one of my favorites actually, off of the And Justice for All album. So for sure, Blackened. And we got Seek and Destroy versus Ain't My Bitch. Both old songs, both really good. Seek and Destroy, I think, is much better than Ain't My Bitch. I like Ain't My Bitch. It's fun, but Seek and Destroy is just so much better. It's so much fun. Again, I kind of go for their up-tempo stuff more often. I mean, not always, as you'll see further in the bracket, but I often go for their high energy shit because that's kind of what, if you're in the mood to listen to Metallica, usually that's what you're in the mood to listen to. Their dark and brooding stuff is really good too, but I genuinely like their high energy stuff, so I'm going to say Seek and Destroy over Ain't My Bitch. Alright, and next we have The Day That Never Comes versus Eye of the Beholder, and this is one of the few instances where their newer, this is 2008, off their Death Magnetic album, but their newer stuff does actually win for me. I actually like Day That Never Comes better than Eye of the Beholder. And that's probably going to be controversial, but I genuinely enjoy Day That Never Comes. Again, it was released in 2008, so like it's not new now. But at the time, I mean, Metallica's been releasing music now for like 40 plus years, so now it would be considered newer. Pretty much everything after the Black Album is considered new. So, yeah, but I enjoy Day That Never Comes. And Eye of the Beholder wasn't the strongest cut off of Injustice for All by far, and that's a really, really good album from them. I might actually do a tier list of their albums one time, so, comment down below if you'd like to see that. But, yeah, Day That Never Comes I like better than Eye of the Beholder. So it just is what it is. Next one's a fun one. It's Unforgiven versus Spit Out the Bone. Again, another like old versus new, but this one I don't think they even thought that Spit Out the Bone had a chance. Unforgiven is not high energy at all, but this is one of their instances, and they have a lot of instances of this, where their dark and brooding stuff is actually really fucking good. And as you'll see as we go down, and I'll talk about it, I genuinely believe that these musicians could have done any form of music they would have liked, and they would have been successful. And I genuinely believe that. There are better examples of this further down the list. So Unforgiven, I'm sad that Unforgiven 2 isn't on here. I kind of get it, but I also don't. They're different songs. You could have definitely had Unforgiven 2 on here, but they wanted some of their new stuff on here. They wanted to give their music a shake. Obviously, they're going to have their own favorites of their music, but they also kind of have to plug their new stuff because they want it to sell. You know what I mean? So I get it from a business standpoint. Again, if this wasn't released by Metallica itself, then I would just say that this person's just a Metallica fan who likes all their music, right? No matter whether it's new or old. But since it's released by Metallica itself, you can kind of tell that they strategically put certain songs against others. Ones that they thought could win against other ones that they thought could be beaten. Then we got King Nothing versus Frantic. And this one, you can't really be controversial either way. So, yay me. But I am going to pick the one that probably isn't picked by most people, and it's going to be Frantic. King Nothing is really, really good, and I hate that they're going against each other in the first round. Some of these songs have much easier times than these two. But I really like Frantic. Again, the high energy. The only thing I don't really like about Frantic, it has a cringe lyric. It really does. I'm sorry, but my lifestyle determines my death style is a little lame coming from Metallica. It really is. And I think they thought it sounded cool, and the way they say it makes it seem like they think it's cool, but it really comes off edgy. It's kind of weird. My lifestyle determines my death style. Like, no. That lyric didn't hit as hard as I thought it did, but it's still really good. I still really like it. And yeah, Frantic over King Nothing. So next is probably one of the easiest decision out of all of them. You see it on the screen. It's One versus Metal Militia. There's not much I can say about One that hasn't been said already. In fact, there's nothing I can say about One that hasn't been said already. If you don't know the story behind One, it's really amazing. If you don't know the inspiration behind the song One, it's really cool too. But most of you, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you do. If you don't, then you can leave a comment down and we'll talk about it. But I'm pretty sure you do, and if you don't, it's a quick Google search. But just the inspiration behind the song, everything like that, the way that they incorporate everyone gets to shine in here. And their old stuff, their producer really turned down the audio mixing on the bass, which for me is a big no, because bass is one of the first things I hear when a song comes on. Bass and guitar, obviously, but the bass is so important, and they just, for some reason, the producer just kept going, nope, turn that bass down, and the audio mixing was off. And the bass on One is amazing, and the solos on One are amazing, and the vocals on One are amazing. I could praise everything about this song. It's a perfect song. So One over Metal Militia. That's an easy one. Now, this is a spot on the list where their naming convention is a little weird, and there's multiple spots, but okay, that's obviously Until It Sleeps, right? Lights, that's Hit the Lights. But why did you spell it Lites? Metallica doesn't have a single song with a word spelt like that. So I don't really understand. They could have just spelled the word lights correctly, like Lights, but Whatever. Until It Sleeps versus Lights. I guess they were trying to be a little confusing. I don't know. This one's super easy for me too. But this one makes my next decision even harder. Like on the next row, like one versus Until It Sleeps. We'll get there. That one's a really hard decision for me. I know it sounds crazy because one is one. And we'll see what I pick. But Until It Sleeps, the story behind it, what it's about, the fact that it's about dealing with grief, dealing with the loss of a loved one, dealing with falling into holes of depression, and you know, obviously it's about James Hetfield's mother had passed away at the time, and he was grieving like really hard and just didn't understand how to cope with it. And Until It Sleeps is about, you know, falling into grief and just, you know, surviving until it goes away. Like Until It Sleeps is until, you know, your grief finally subsides. And, you know, grief never really fully goes away. And that's kind of what it explores. But it gives you moments where you're allowed to kind of live your life through the grief. So Until It Sleeps, the meaning behind it, amazing. Hit the Lights, Lights, whatever. Just isn't even close to Until It Sleeps. Until It Sleeps is one of their best. And it's sad that it's going to have to go against one. Again, we'll see what I pick. Spoilers, I guess. Next is one of their most popular cuts off of probably the most lauded and important album of theirs, Master of Puppets, Sanitarium, versus a song off of their Hardwired to Self-Destruct album, Halo and Fire. And again, super easy one here. Sanitarium is just such a better song than any of their new stuff, to be honest. We'll see how far Sanitarium makes. I'm not going to make any promises, but Sanitarium is really, really, really good. Yeah, we're going to move on. Next is Hardwired to Self-Destruct, the, you know, album-titled song, versus Holier Than Thou. I don't think this is a really hard one, but this was definitely one. This is definitely one. This is the most obvious instance where they were trying to get their new stuff a chance, because both these songs are very similar. If you listen to them, they sound very, very similar, and neither of them are like the most like essential Metallica song. So they really, really, right here, they were like, which one of our new ones could be which one of our old, and they kind of went, this one and this one sound a lot alike. You know, let's see. Let's let the fans decide. And again, I'm pretty sure the fans decided Holier Than Thou. And I decided Holier Than Thou. They're similar. I didn't purposefully decide the old one. It just sounds better. They just, you know, as a musician, you eventually lose your creativity. And you kind of start to fall into like, oh, you remember that riff from like, oh, let's do a different spin on that. Or you remember that tempo we had. So you kind of fall into that. And eventually, your music's not going to have the same quality as it once did. Holier Than Thou is better than Hardwired Self-Destruct. Just is what it is. So next is For Whom the Bell Tolls versus Hero of the Day. And again, I don't think this one's very hard. Hero of the Day is decent. But For Whom the Bell Tolls, this will probably be a spoiler for every other song from this album on here. But For Whom the Bell Tolls is the best song off of Ride the Lightning, by far. There are good songs on there. I'm not saying that there's a bunch of like stinkers on that album. The album's good. But For Whom the Bell Tolls is the best song on that album. So it's For Whom the Bell Tolls versus Hero of the Day. It's going to be For Whom the Bell Tolls for me. Next is going to be Saint Anger versus Disposable. And it's obviously Saint Anger. Again, some of these are very obvious. Some of them are less obvious. Usually the first round, there isn't too many crazy ones. It's the second, third, fourth round, especially the fourth, where you get the really hard decisions. So, you know, I'm sorry if this isn't, you know, if I'm not breaking any eggs here, but it just is what it is. Saint Anger is a better song than Disposable by a long shot. Next is another... I keep saying this, but next is another easy one. It's Battery versus That Was Just Your Life off of their 2008 Death Magnetic album. So again, new versus old. Battery off Master of Puppets. I think probably the third, maybe, yeah, the third best song off of Master of Puppets. So Battery is, yeah, easily better than Life. Then we have Fight Fire with Fire versus Orion. This is the Ride the Lightning album versus the Master of Puppets album. Spoiler, I think Orion is the best song off Master of Puppets. And I know people are going to hate me for that because they think Master of Puppets is the best song off Master of Puppets. But the instrumentation on Orion is just better than Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets is a great, don't get me wrong, super great song. And we're going to get there. It's over on the other side of the bracket. But Orion, I believe, is the best song off of that Master of Puppets album. It just sonically sounds amazing. And there's just nothing I could really say wrong with it, to be honest. It's another song where all the instruments and all of the artists came together and just made an almost perfect song. And the instrumentation for it just goes so well together, and it blends so well together. So Orion, my number one song off Master of Puppets, is obviously going to be Fight Fire with Fire, which is like my fourth favorite song off of Ride the Lightning. So that's the left side of the bracket. And then we'll move on. Top right. Nothing Else Matters versus Don't Tread on Me. And another super obvious one, I think. Nothing Else Matters is absolutely one of the most influential songs, like, ever, from a metal band. There's so many covers of it. There's so many people out there who have been inspired by this song. It means a lot to a lot of people. What it stands for, what it's about is just amazing. And then it's just, obviously it's not Metallica going hard. And as I said, I really like when they go super hard. It's metal. You want to listen to some metal. You know, you're going to want to go hard. You want to headbang. But Nothing Else Matters is so good. And by now you've probably heard every other version of the song. But I ask you to go back and listen to Metallica's version because it's just so good. And if you're in the right headspace, it's perfect. It's chef's kiss. Amazing. So Nothing Else Matters versus Don't Tread on Me. Kind of sucks because Don't Tread on Me is really good too. But Nothing Else Matters is just better. It's better than a lot of Metallica songs. So definitely don't take that as me saying Don't Tread on Me is a bad song. But I think a lot of you would agree Nothing Else Matters is one of their best songs. It's one of the most popular. So some of you will be like, oh, you know, popularity bias. But now's a good time, I guess, to talk about that because popularity bias really only matters when it comes to crappy artists. Like, you know, some songs are only popular because they're catchy, but they're not actually good songs. Soulja Boy is a great one. Soulja Boy is a trash tier song. One of the worst songs probably ever released, ever. But it was also one of the most popular songs of all time the year that it was released. Obviously it didn't age well and it isn't popular anymore, and that's because it wasn't good. But Nothing Else Matters is a 31-year-old song and still has people of all different genres making covers of it. It's still one of the most listened to songs like ever. Like this isn't a spot where you could say popularity is the reason that it's picked over other songs. You might have a dark horse song that you like better than Nothing Else Matters. I'm not telling you that you can't, but I'm telling you that people don't pick it because it's popular. It's popular because it's good. This is one of those instances where the popularity goes hand in hand with the quality rather than it being popular despite the quality, if that makes sense. So we'll move on. Oh, I also forgot to mention, and Nothing Else Matters and Don't Tread on Me. This is just a fun fact, but I noticed it myself while listening to Don't Tread on Me. I'm like, that riff sounds really familiar. And I like a lot of musicals. It's kind of weird to talk about during a Metallica bracket, but I like musicals quite a bit. And West Side Story is one of those musicals that I like quite a bit, even though it's from the 60s. So it is what it is. The song America from West Side Story is my favorite song in the entire musical. And I hear the riff at the beginning, and I'm like, this is... And I put on America from West Side Story. Yeah, 100% is the riff from America from West Side Story. I like to be in America, okay by me in America. And go listen to it for yourself, and it is confirmed. I'm not just like the person who's finding this out. This is confirmed. It's just something I noticed while I was listening to it. Then I looked it up, and yeah, it is the riff. They don't really have a reason as to why they chose that riff. They just must have liked it and said, let's turn it into a metal song. But also, fun fact, this is one of James Hetfield's least favorite songs. He doesn't like the song. He just doesn't. Maybe it is because of that copyright. You know, maybe that they're afraid to get in trouble. I doubt it, but, you know, it just is what it is. James Hetfield historically doesn't like the song. And the riff is from America. from West Side Story. So interesting facts. Back to the bracket. Okay, and this is another weird naming convention. Thingy. You know the song Thingy by Metallica? You know it, right? Thingy? Yeah, no, there's no song called Thingy by Metallica. They're obviously talking about the thing that should not be from Master of Puppets. Why call it Thingy? I don't know. Again, this was made by Metallica itself. Maybe they have, their own, like, pet names for their own songs. Like, oh, the song Thingy. But, like, I don't know that. Maybe hardcore fans know that. Like, hardcore fans. But, like, I don't know. It's very obvious what song they're talking about. It's just weird to label it Thingy when no one references it as Thingy. No one says, yo, put on Thingy by Metallica. That doesn't even sound right. Thingy sounds really like, it's like a childish word. I don't know. It's a very weird naming convention. Just thought I'd bring it up. But it's the thing that should not be versus Damage Inc. Which is interesting to pick two songs from the same album. But, is what it is. I think Damage Inc. is the better song than Thing That Should Not Be. So Damage Inc. moves on for me. Damage Inc. is, I think, probably the fourth best song off Master of Puppets. So, versus, The Thing That Should Not Be, which is like their fifth best song off of Master of Puppets. So, yeah, those two. Then we got Harvester of Death versus Bleeding Me. For this one, they're very similar, to be honest. And Bleeding Me has a lot of meaning. And just so you understand my thought process on stuff, a lot of people, you'll pick based off impact, or you'll pick based off of just, what sounds good to you, or you'll pick based off of feelings. So for me personally, my grading criteria kind of, and how I select songs, one, how does it sound sonically? That's probably the most important thing to me. It's music. I want it to sound good. And that doesn't mean catchy. That means, like, I'm listening to everything. I'm listening to how the bass sounds, the tempo, how it all sounds together, whether the vocals go with the music or not. And then two, is it about something? Is it important, or is it just fun? And most of the time I'm going to pick something that's saying something over something that's fun. That's not always. You'll notice, like, I pick fun songs too. But the fun has to outweigh the importance of what it's saying. It sounds better sonically, and it outweighs the fun factor, or the fun factor outweighs the meaning. That's how I pick. Bleeding Me has a lot more meaning than Harvester of Darkness, although they both have some meaning behind the lyrics. But Harvester of Darkness is way better to listen to than Bleeding Me. Next off is the Four Horsemen versus Broken, Beat, and Scarred. This is an instance where, their one word or one syllable kind of thing, does well. BBS, yeah, I know what BBS is. If you named it Brokey Thingy, I'm not going to have any idea what you're talking about. If you named it Scardy, that'd be weird, right? I'm just making fun of the fact that they named it Thingy. But this was a good instance. BBS, yeah, Broken, Beat, and Scarred. Versus Four Horsemen. Four Horsemen is the much better song. Again, I like the tempo, and it just is what it is. It's just a better song than BBS. But I do like the naming convention, so thanks for that. They don't keep that up, though. There's a lot more awful naming conventions here. So we'll keep going. Next one is Fade to Black versus Jump in the Fire. And the intro to Fade to Black is so good. And the song itself is so good. But the intro alone to Fade to Black is amazing. And it carries it very, very hard. The rest of the song carries itself. Obviously, I'm not saying it's a bad song, and the intro is the only good part. But the intro is so good. Fade to Black, way better than Jump into the Fire. And I don't even really think I have to justify that decision at all. Next is Justice for All versus No Remorse. Again, a lot of these first rounds, I get it. It's a lot of the better songs versus they're not better songs, and this is just another case of that. Justice for All is one of the best songs off of the Justice for All album. Surprise. So yeah, Justice for All is better than No Remorse. Their older stuff, it definitely doesn't get a lot of love. Load and Reload are great, but it just. And Justice for All and their Black album are probably two of their best albums. Again, I'll probably do a tier list of their albums, and we'll go through and we'll talk about it. But yeah, a lot of their even mediocre cuts off of the Black album and off of Justice for All are going to beat a lot of the older stuff, other than Master of Puppets, obviously. Next we have Creeping Death, which I mean creep, I guess. I guess that's short for Creeping Death. You could have just said death, though. Nothing else has that in the title. Whatever. Creeping Death versus The End of the Line. Again, an old with new. This is definitely one where they were trying to, again, sneak, one of their old ones through, possibly get it to beat it. But Creeping Death is pretty popular and really good. So it did not work out for them. Again, I don't believe it would have worked out for them on the actual one either. And they still have it up, the fan voting poll. So if you'd like to see that, I believe they have it on their Facebook. So just go to the Metallica Facebook and you'll be able to see all the, probably in their pictures, round 1 through 4. You could probably even just Google it. You definitely could Google it. You could see what the fans voted. I'm sure it's one of the popular, important songs of theirs off the Black Album or Master of Puppets. So, we'll see what it is. So next is Memory Remains versus Cyanide, another old with new. Death Magnetic versus Reload. This is another one that I feel is super obvious. Memory Remains has one of the best choruses and some of the best vocals from James by far. Memory Remains. I can't even do it. I can't even come close to doing it. But the way James kind of withholds his voice while also kind of gutturally screaming is pretty good. Or like, not even a scream, just guttural release. It's pretty good. It's really good vocals from somebody who's not normally known for their vocals. So Memory Remains is better than Cyanide. This next one is Master of Puppets versus Dyer's Eve. And again, why did you use a Z? Puppets with an S. Like, it's not like the title of the song has a Z. Again, I don't know who actually made this. Metallica themselves, the band, didn't make this. They probably had some say in it, maybe, on like where songs go and stuff, but they didn't make it themselves. They just had some graphics guy make this. Why use a Z? I don't know. It is what it is. Master of Puppets versus Dyer's Eve. The second best song off of the Master of Puppets album versus a middling song off of Justice for All. I'm a big Master of Puppets, and I'm almost positive that the fan vote did that too. There's just no way that they didn't pick Master of Puppets over Dyer's Eve. Again, it's not shitting on their old stuff with Metallica. Even their middling stuff is really good. It all kind of sounds samey, but it's really good. Their best songs, though, really stand out and are obvious. And Master of Puppets is one of those, for sure. Alright, next is Atlas Rise versus Now That We're Dead. Which, again, this is definitely an instance where they wanted one of their new songs to go, because these are both from the newest album, the Hardwired to Self-Destruct album. So, only way to guarantee that one of your new songs makes it out of the first round is to only allow you to pick one of their new songs. So that was smart by them. For me, it was Now That We're Dead over Atlas Rise. And there's not much to talk about there because I don't really like either song, but one of them has to win. And now they're against Master of Puppets, so, surprise, surprise, you can guess what happens there. But they made it out of the first round, so, congrats on putting, making sure that one of your new songs gets through the first round. Genius. Next is Fuel versus I Disappear, which is the song that they made for Mission Impossible 2. It was played in, their promotional stuff, and it was, one of the credit songs, I guess. And the music video is obviously, Mission Impossible inspired. And just isn't that good. I Disappear is just not that good. And Fuel is so fun. It is probably the most fun I have out of a Metallica album. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that what I desire. The song is so good. It's so much fun. Ooh. James Hetfield's always fun with his little vocal nuances and stuff. But Fuel is just upbeat, tempo, crazy, super fun. Really like Fuel, so that one's obviously going to make it. Alright, next is Ride the Lightning versus The Shortest Straw. Again, when you put one of the best songs of an album versus one of the middling songs, it's usually going to be the best song. Surprise, surprise. Ride the Lightning is the second or third best song off of Ride the Lightning. So, yeah, that is what it is. So Ride the Lightning moves on here. I promise it'll get a lot more interesting when we get to the further rounds. And the first round is always just going to be kind of this easy versus easy matchup. So next is Sad But True versus Phantom Lord. And Sad But True is going to make it past. I know that was awful. I'm so sorry. I know that was so bad. You guys are like, oh my god. I know, I don't sing like James Hetfield at all. And again, it's not like he's crazy vocally. I'm just really bad. So, Sad But True. Way better than Phantom Lord. And we'll move on. Next is Of Wolf and Man versus All Nightmare Long. And this one isn't that obvious. This is one of the choices that wasn't super obvious in the first round, which is awesome. I like when that happens. But I do think Nightmare is the better song than Of Wolf and Man. All Nightmare Long is really enjoyable. They're kind of similar, but I like All Nightmare Long better. So next is Wherever I May Roam versus Call of Cthulhu. These ones are really close. Wherever I May Roam beats out Call of Cthulhu. You wouldn't think that I would have trouble saying Wherever I May Roam over Cthulhu, but yeah, millennial for you, I guess. But yeah, Wherever I May Roam is a better song than Call of Cthulhu. Next is Moth to the Fire versus No Leaf Clover. And this is another one where I'm sure they were thinking, one of our new songs can beat out one of the old ones. Not many people listen to No Leaf Clover, right? Off of the S&M album. Our live performance with our orchestra. I loved hearing metal with orchestra. And this is a good instance of what I was talking about earlier, where I genuinely believe that Metallica could have done whatever they wanted. Any type of music they wanted. They clearly show that they have versatility. They make hardcore songs. They make bangers. They make brooding operas. They make songs with an orchestra. They even have a country song, which didn't make the list, Mama Said. That doesn't, make me hate it. I like Mama Said. And I don't normally like country. So they could have done any type of music they wanted. And they were just so talented and so driven to make good music that they would have made any type of music work. And I'm glad they did it for metal, because they obviously put metal, way up on a pedestal, and that's awesome. And it's sad that it's kind of fallen off since, like the early 2000s. But No Leaf Clover with the orchestra sounds so good and definitely beats out Moth to the Fire from one of their newest albums. Sorry, it didn't work here. No Leaf Clover is so good. And if you haven't heard it, go listen to it like right now, because the orchestra with metal is amazing. All right, so remember we were talking a little bit about, elitists, saying the popular song isn't always the best song. Well, in this case, Enter Sandman versus Through the Never, Enter Sandman is the better song. We'll get to the point where it is true that the popular song isn't the better song, but this isn't that point. Enter Sandman is better than Through the Never. Fight me. Whiplash versus Blackened, and I definitely picked Blackened over Whiplash. I really like Whiplash, and it's fun. And like I said, I like those upbeat, up-tempo songs. Definitely not upbeat. I like the up-tempo songs from Metallica, but Blackened is just a lot better. And I just like it more. And then we'll go ahead and do this decision here. Sandman versus Blackened, and I believe Sandman takes it again. Definitely comes to a point where, the popularity doesn't mean it's better. But here, it just is the better song. And it's not because of its popularity that I'm picking it. I like Enter Sandman a lot better than Blackened. And there's a reason it's popular. It is really good. It just isn't as good as people think. Everyone who doesn't even know Metallica knows Enter Sandman. But that doesn't mean it's their best song. Like, there are plenty of songs that people just don't know, that aren't Metallica listeners, that are much better than Enter Sandman, and we'll definitely get to them. Don't worry, Enter Sandman's not going to win this bracket. And for those who think it should, I promise that if you listen to a lot of these songs, you wouldn't think that. You're probably thinking that because it's one of the only Metallica songs you know. So, no offense. It's okay to not, I'm not being elitist. It's okay to not know every song from a band. But Enter Sandman isn't the best song from Metallica. So yeah, Seek and Destroy is the better song. Day That Never Comes. It's a lot of fun. Seek and Destroy. It's just catchy, which is interesting to say about a metal song. And it's a really good song. So Seek and Destroy moves on there. Unforgiven versus Frantic, and I know I gave Frantic a lot of credit for being fun and being, great, but Unforgiven, oh man. If James Hetfield had added some vibrato to when he does that Unforgiven, if he added some vibrato to that, this song might be perfect. The vocals are what kind of does it for me as far as this song goes, which again is interesting to say when talking about James Hetfield. He was never known as the best vocalist. He's just a really good frontman, and his vocals, were good for Metallica. A lot of their stuff isn't vocals, so not a lot of their songs have a bunch of vocals. They have plenty of times where it's just the instruments going on. And Unforgiven, his vocals are up in the forefront, and they're really good. But if he added some vibrato to that Unforgiven, man, it would make it a lot further on this bracket. It is going to make it pretty far, though, so it is going to beat Seek and Destroy. And the moment you've all been waiting for, Inner Sandman does get beaten by the Unforgiven. It just does. Again, the vocals, when a band's weakness becomes its strength in a song and everything else around it is still good, how can it not be one of your best songs? You know what I mean? Like, you took the thing that was the weakest for your band and elevated it, and everything else stayed the same. It wasn't like you got good vocals on the song, but then like you lost some of the guitar or something. No, everything in the song slaps, including the vocals, which is just a testament to how good these guys are together as a band, and how good they are at bringing out the best of each other. So Unforgiven beats Inner Sandman, and there is your instance of popularity does not always mean it's the best. Again, Nothing Else Matters is not in that category, and you'll see why as we keep going. Next is One versus Until It Sleeps, and I said this was a hard decision, and it was. I knew it was going to win this from the beginning, don't get me wrong. But, like I said, sonicality and meaning. Meaning over fun. Substance over nothing. Until It Sleeps has so much meaning, and that's why I think it's probably one of their 4 best songs. It's not going to make it in the top 4 on a bracket, but brackets aren't usually like a 1 through 64. You'll get songs that should have never made it out of the 64, like we did with Atlas Rise versus Dead. But you'll also have instances where you get the best song versus the second best song, and you just got to pick the best. You know what I mean? So Until It Sleeps deserves to make it way further, but unluckily it went against One, which also has that meaning. It also has a lot of meaning, and it's so good. It's just so good. There's a reason it's one of their most popular songs. And even they'll credit it as one of their most influential and best songs. So One is better than Until It Sleeps, but I really want Until It Sleeps to make it really far in the bracket. I love talking about it. I'll talk to anyone about it. The lyrics, the meaning. It's so good. It means so much to the band and to a specific band member as well. So, yeah, it's really good. But One moves on here. Sanitarium versus Holier Than Thou. Another one that I don't think many Metallica fans would be surprised of. Sanitarium makes it past Holier Than Thou. But then One is just the better song than Sanitarium. I think Until It Sleeps is better than the Sanitarium. So if Until It Sleeps is putting up a fight with One and still lost, then the Sanitarium's going to lose. It just is what it is. Sanitarium might be your favorite, and you might, think that One isn't better, but One is a better song. For Whom the Bell Tolls versus Saint Anger. This is fun versus brooding and meaning. And in this instance, the brooding and meaning wins over the fun. Saint Anger is a little bit of fun, and I like it, but it's not enough fun to beat out For Whom the Bell Tolls. It isn't. I wish it was, because I really, really like Saint Anger, but it's not fun enough to beat out the meaning. So For Whom the Bell Tolls wins. Battery versus Orion. You kind of should already be able to tell what wins here, because I told you Battery is the second best song. No, Battery was the third best song on the Master of Puppets album. And I told you Orion is my favorite song off the Master of Puppets album. So what wins here? Orion. And I know a lot of people like Battery better. The vocals on Battery are really high energy. So that's probably why a lot of Metallica fans like it. It is the more metal of the 2 songs. But Orion is a better song to me, and it doesn't need lyrics because the instrumentation is so good. So good, and like I said, it all comes together like perfectly. And Orion beats For Whom the Bell Tolls as well, so I don't think that should be a surprise. And then it's Orion versus One, and again, I think One is just one of their best. The meaning is one of the best and most influential meanings. So One beats out Orion. Even though Orion's my favorite of Master Puppets, it just isn't going to make it to the end. And this is an instance where the popular song is the better song. Nothing Else Matters is so good. And again, I told you that meaning means a lot to me, and influence is probably the third or fourth to me. Some people say influence is the most important, and in that case, then I think Nothing Else Matters is the best influentially. Again, there are more covers to Nothing Else Matters than a lot of other songs from any other artist. Some of the most popular songs you know have less covers than Nothing Else Matters. Everybody covers their song because it's so good. And even those covers, just they do good. Those covers are even good because the song itself is that good. And for it to come from a metal band was just awesome. Just one of easily their best songs, period. Next is Harvester of Darkness versus Four Horsemen. And this one's going to be Harvester of Darkness. The instrumentation on Harvester of Darkness goes really, really hard, and I really like it. And Four Horsemen is good. It just doesn't really hold a candle to Harvester of Darkness. Just like Harvester of Darkness doesn't really hold a candle to Nothing Else Matters. And when I say that, I don't mean that Harvester of Darkness is a bad song. But again, when you take one of the best songs from a group and put it against one of their not the best songs from the group, the best is going to win. That just is what it is. It's the point of the bracket. So Nothing Else Matters moves on from that part of the bracket and moves up to there. And now we're at Fade to Black versus Justice for All. Sonically, I like Fade to Black better than Injustice for All. Meaning wise, I like Fade to Black better than Injustice for All. And it's another instance where the vocals are pretty decent. James Hetfield's vocals come through on Fade to Black. So yeah, really like it. Creeping Death versus Memory Remains. I really like the chorus on Memory Remains. I genuinely do. Like I said, I like how strained his vocals sound when he's saying Memory Remains. I won't do it again. I promise I'm not going to do that to you. But Creeping Death just sounds better sonically. Neither of them have a crazy amount of meaning. They do have meaning. It just isn't what a lot of their other songs have. Neither one of them is like this fun, super fun song. But Creeping Death is just the better, sounds better than Memory Remains. Even with those awesome vocals in the chorus. But then Fade to Black versus Creeping Death. And I pick Fade to Black. I don't think that's a crazy choice there. And Nothing Else Matters versus Fade to Black. I pick Nothing Else Matters. That's just... I've said enough about it at this point that I think it's obvious why I'm picking it. So I'm not just going to keep giving you the same reasons over and over. Nothing Else Matters to me beats Fade to Black. Now we have Master of Puppets, arguably one of the most popular songs off of arguably one of the most popular albums. Not even arguably, it just is. Versus Now That We're Dead from Hardware to Self-Destruct. Yeah, Master of Puppets is better. Surprise. Now we got Give Me Fuel, Give Me Fire, Give Me That Which I Desire. This is Ride the Lightning. And if that intro gives you any insight, I pick Fuel. Because it is so much fun, and the fun factor definitely beats out anything that Ride the Lightning has to offer. The fun will only carry it so far, because again, meaning means a lot to me, but it is very fun. Now we've got Sad But True versus All Nightmare Long, and Sad But True is the better song there, so we're going to pick Sad But True. And then we got Rome versus No Leaf Clover, and again, metal with orchestra, they blend so well. That S&N album, it is mostly just their old songs but with orchestra incorporated. This song was written with orchestra in mind, and it's obvious. And again, the talents of these guys, the writing talents, the instrumentation talents, the talents of this band shine through when they're doing stuff outside of metal, and when they're doing metal. Obviously they're some of the best to ever do metal. But then they're also some of the best to ever incorporate metal into other forms of music. Like, they're just really, really good. Amazing band. I don't think I need to tell too many of you that. But if you haven't given Metallica a listen, please do. Not just their popular songs, not just the ones you see me picking as the best. Give all their songs a listen. Really, it's worth it. You'll find a few that you don't like, and that's fine. But you'll find a lot of hidden gems in there that are just amazing, that don't get enough love. And No Leaf Clover is one of them. No Leaf Clover is so good. And we're going to go ahead, and No Leaf Clover is better than Sad But True as well. So we're going to make that decision too. And then Master of Puppets is better than Fuel, as much fun as I have with Fuel. So we're going to make that decision too. But then Master of Puppets versus No Leaf Clover. What does Jonny pick? What does Jonny pick? All of you are going to be like, Master Puppets, Master Puppets. And I'm sorry, but I picked No Leaf Clover. I think that the instrumentation carries it so hard. Dun, 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 dun. It sounds amazing. I love anytime you incorporate strings with really any form of music, but then you do it with metal and you make it sound really good. It's hard to beat. It really is. Master Puppets is fun. It really, really is fun, and it's got a lot of meaning, and it's one of their most influential songs, period. But No Leaf Clover, as little influence as it's had, it just sonically sounds so good, and I love it. My ears love it. I love it. And those are my 4 at the very end. Again, this doesn't mean top 4, so don't look at me and be like, these are your top 4 favorite, Metallica songs. Obviously, they're 4 of my favorite. They wouldn't make this 4 if they weren't. But they may have gone against things that, had an easier route. And some songs that should have made it all the way down, like Until It Sleeps, easily one of my top 4 favorite Metallica songs. So don't take this as my top 4 favorite, but 4 of the best Metallica songs. And through the routes that they took and the process that we went through, these are the 4 that are at the end. So let's make the left decision first. Unforgiven versus 1. And you guys are thinking, oh God, don't do it, don't do it. And I don't. 1 does beat out Unforgiven. Unforgiven's great. Listen to the song, you'll see what I mean. If he adds vibrato to the chorus, the Unforgiven, I obviously can't do it, but if he added some vibrato to that, I think it would sound so amazing. So 1 is just a better song than Unforgiven. And Nothing Else Matters versus No Leaf Clover. And it is Nothing Else Matters. I genuinely believe that it's one of their best songs. And as a matter of fact, I believe it is their best song. I believe that Nothing Else Matters is the best song by Metallica. And I know it sounds weird, and I know a lot of metalheads are going to be mad about that or might be mad about that. I don't know. Because it's not really the most representative of what Metallica has to offer. If the only song you ever heard from Metallica was Nothing Else Matters, you wouldn't assume that they make songs like Fuel. You wouldn't assume that they make songs like Fade to Black or Harvester of Darkness. You wouldn't assume that they make things like Master of Puppets. You wouldn't assume any of that. You would assume, oh, they're dark and brooding. No, it's not the best representation of what Metallica has to offer, but it is the best song that they have created. Even over 1, and I know that's tough. The vocals, the instrumentation, everything comes together and Nothing Else Matters and makes a truly perfect song. And I believe both of these are perfect songs. 10 out of 10 songs. I just believe Nothing Else Matters is slightly better and means a little bit more to me. And again, meaning means a lot more to me than some of the factors that you might put into yours. And 1 has a lot of meaning too, but Nothing Else Matters. Going through depression, any of that stuff. You're going through hard times. Nothing Matters is a song that can pull you out of that or make you go deeper into it. And sometimes it's good to dive deeper into those feelings and really explore them. And music is a good way to do that. Music helps you explore those feelings. There's a reason why when you're sad, you listen to sad music. It helps you explore the feelings, how you feel, so that you can get yourself out of them. It's not supposed to push you deeper into them. It's supposed to help you raise yourself out of them. And it's supposed to make you relate and see that someone else is going through the same things you are. And so I genuinely think that Nothing Else Matters is that kind of song for so many people. And it's that kind of song for me. And so I think it's the best song. And 1 made it all the way to the top 2. So don't think that I don't love it. I do. I love almost all the songs on here. Even Thingy. I even love Thingy. Even Thingy by Metallica. You know, Thingy? Yeah, Thingy. Thingy by Metallica. But either way, regardless of the name convention, what I said here today is genuinely how I feel about Metallica. This was a really fun romp through Metallica music. And it was really good to listen to all these songs. And I really encourage you, if you're not a Metallica listener and you saw this, go through and do your own bracket. And if you do, put it down in the comments. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. I'd love to talk about it. I just love talking about this kind of stuff. Music, anything really. And no one's opinion is more important than anyone else's. Nothing Else Matters is my favorite, and I have my reasons for it. But if you picked Enter Sandman, I'm not going to hate you for it. I'm not an elitist. So let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's have fun. And yeah, beautiful people. Love you guys. Peace.